Oh. Tonight we'd like to introduce Janet Vedder to our Arts and Craftsmen Guild on the Raycroft campus meeting and monthly meeting. Janet is a very versatile artist, obviously, various kinds of felting and painting and weaving. She was a 30-year plus art teacher in Lancaster. And I'm glad to see her again and looking really forward to hearing about the beautiful work.
Well, thank
that
you.
she is here.
Thank you, Robin. I'm happy that you asked me to come and speak, but yeah, there's a lot of different mediums here. So we're called dabblers. So when I joined the guild, I don't join a lot of things. I'm really not a very good member of groups, but I thought this group would have, you know, you're committed to your craft and we could share our strengths and our differences and actually learn from each other. The other group that I am an active member in is called NYSADA. It's New York State Art Teachers Association, and it's the same. We share best practices, we learn from each other, and it's really been a very positive force in my life for my artwork and for friendships, of course. So I'll take you on a little journey through what I've done. So I started working as an artist at the age 21 at a place called Cairo, 10 More Color Plate, which is where I met Paulette and Andrea, and we've stayed friends ever since. So, and when I was there, or when we were there, it's a company that prints the comics for all the United States, Canada, Puerto Rico. And so it was a sort of a pre-press operation. They also printed inserts for the newspapers. So, you know, we fluctuated through different areas. I did color separation, which in the old days, it was all done by hand. Now everything's on the computer. Did little drawings for inserts and posters. So it was a really great learning experience. I met a lot of great people and I learned a lot. And then I went, so when the computer came in, I had to make a decision. You know, get on with the computer or I'll stay with the handwork. So I started my own freelance little business, and a lot of it was mechanical work, still hands-on, and little black and white drawings. And that lasted for a good 5 years. And then the computer was really there, and everybody was drawing on the computer. And so I decided, well, actually, I met Thelma Hudson, who is a local artist in this area. And excuse me, she was teaching children's classes for homeschool students. And she asked me to come and teach a few things, and I did. And I was really hooked on the teaching element. So I went back to school, and at that point I was 40 years old, and I went back to school. And that's where I really feel that I got a lot out of my education at that time. So I started teaching right away once I got my certification. And then I went on to get my master's, of course, because I think you actually have to. So a lot of the work that I have brought today is a result of being an art teacher, where you are continuing educating yourself in different, well, teaching methods. But I would like to talk about the art part instead of the teaching part. But I do have one thing to talk about for the education element. So I met Robin at Lancaster Central School District, which is where I worked most of my career. So the work that I brought today to share with you is a couple of different things. So primarily now I enjoy watercolor painting and anything to do with fiber, whether it's weaving, felting. So this is a silk batik that I use that medium to glue onto a canvas. So we really don't have the beauty of seeing through the silk or seeing the silk shine, but I wanted to hang it in the house, and this was the most wonderful So, and then I was into collaging for a while, which is still one of my favorite things to do. So this is a weaving on a table loop that has 4 different petals, and you can follow a pattern to get, you know, whatever pattern you like. So this is the one that I chose. But I also learned how to dye the cotton threads. And all of these things that you learn as an art educator, you pass on to your students. So all the classes that I've taken and all the variety, all the different things that you do, you pass on. So I keep stalling because I want to say, my real focus now is watercolor and fiber, like I said, but how can you not like do everything? Everything that you have. Well, I can't, ceramics, that's a tough one. So here's a little weaving. I still have not solved my problem with the sides, but this is cotton with wool and some printing paper that I put through the sewing machine and watercolor. And then I have a few felted pieces. These are needle felted, which you take the wool roving, or in this case, I have some wool yarn from Knox Fiber Farm. I think it's from Judith from there. So her yarns are just beautiful. They're all wool. So you just take a little needle, and you're actually just painting with the wool, and it wraps itself around itself and you're embedding it into a base. So I have, this came from, so for the past 9 summers, I've gone to the NYSADA, Nurses and Teachers Association Summer Institute, and that's where I learned a lot more about needle felting than I did before. And this is an image of one night at 2:30 in the morning, we went out on the lake in the canoes and counted 250 comets. So I couldn't help but like make something with a little comet. These are also needle felted. I guess I went crazy with the needle felting. Here's another fish. And this is a sweater that was needle felted in there. There's another fish. What's it?
No, I just said sweater turned into a fish.
Yes, yeah, yes. And I tried to make at least one fish image a year. I don't know why. There's no sense to it. And oh, I love to make books too. But this is just a little book that I put some of my watercolors in. So, and most of my watercolors are abstracted landscapes. Because that's what I do, right? That's it for a few of the pieces of work that I worked and my education. And I did retire. I retired in 2019, and then this year I was asked to come back just for 10 weeks to fill in for the girl that took my job. She had a baby, so she's on maternity leave. So I'm having fun going back. But the one thing I did want to bring up at this meeting is we're all artists, and art education and education in the arts, I feel is extremely important. And I, of course, feel that it should be one of the 4 subjects taught. My theory is there's many countries all around the world where the arts are considered a core subject, and I want it's like a soapbox. Like if you hear of education going STEM, STEM, have you heard of that? Science, technology, engineering, and maths with an S. Maths with an S. I'm always asking, I think I have to ask it. What are these meetings that and I'm sure we all feel the same way, that we should advocate for STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts with an S, and maths. Although the one good thing that I found recently in my little rant, my little research rant, I called it, about STEAM and STEM, is there is a teacher in Williamsville this year that travels from school to school teaching just STEAM lessons, which I think is fantastic. Because I think the arts in with the technology and engineering promotes a different way of thinking and approaching the problem solving and all concepts and putting things together in a different format rather than just the scientific format. So that's it. Yeah. So that's about all I have to say. My big thing is the STEAM STEM and then education. My favorite things are right here. Then, any questions? No? Yes.
So you still have a studio in the print shop building?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do there? What's your favorite thing to do?
At Fibers and the water. And it's just stuff full. But I feel very fortunate to have such a beautiful spot to work. And that came up. I had my name on the list for quite a while. And I retired in 2019 in June. And in July, I got a call that was available. So I just think that there's something possible about that.
So do you only work on the gym?
No, like this, I just stretched around cardboard. Mostly I mean, I don't use the table. I enjoy it. But
You don't hit the floor.
do the floor walls? Do you really? 3?
I do floor, a table, and a rigid pedal.
Oh, okay. I have a rigid pedal. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I have one, but I haven't even put it together yet. So thank you. I would love that.
We live in this world, so I'd be happy to help you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
And I would like to promote the 2 things.
Okay.
The Weaverstill in Buffalo, which is a great group of mostly women. There's a couple men.
Mm-hmm.
And monthly meeting usually held at the I like to call it the University. So much easier than say Buffalo Lake or Heritage Village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very good. It's a wonderful group because they're very helpful and love to teach and encourage us.
Oh my gosh, it means everything, doesn't it? When
Yes.
people rally around each other.
Yeah.
So what days do they meet?
They meet the 3rd Thursday and the 4th Thursday of each month.
Oh wow.
Because they have a day meeting 1 week, and then the evening meeting next week or twice versa.
So whoever.
I very seldom go to the night meeting because it's just too far.
It is a drive.
Scary. The road is scary. Yeah, so, but right now, some of the meetings we're still going through. And I can give you some information.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
And then the other thing is the Western New York Private Arts Festival is going to be the next week, Saturday, at the West Green.
On the 8th, Saturday the 18th, at the
yes.
Rick.
Yeah, that's West Green.
Oh,
And
nice.
there's all kinds of dyers and felters and weavers and spinners and knitters. And anything you mentioned, where that classic rink, the ice rink.
Oh,
Yes, it was held at the Fireman's Field for 2 years, and they decided to try a different venue this year. So
Well, I
it'll be
think
a little smaller. Some things will be different, but there's still, I heard recently that there's, I think, 35 vendors coming.
wow.
By
That sounds like a
it's
lot.
Western New York Private Arts Festival. 25th. It's easy to go. Easy to go. And there should be something in Vidler's window. I think it's now. And there should be something in the advertised right.
It's on Facebook.
Okay.
They have Facebook, yeah.
And look for Judith with it. Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't do this. Judith actually got me started. I've been spinning and
Oh my gosh.
spinning.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the spinners got me back into it.
Wow, that's so cool. They're just so beautiful, some of these fibers. I guess it's whatever you love, but they're gorgeous on there. But, any other questions?
I'm
Yeah.
interested in your perspective on, since you were art teacher for so long, the support or from beginning of your career to the end. Have you seen any administrative support? Increase the arts or what's your perspective on
Administration and the arts,
administration? Not
I think,
necessarily the test, but just
I know what
in
you mean.
general, like 20 years ago, the finance was more, classes were fuller, the kids were as courses and more interested in class.
I think it does, well, almost every course has an administrator, but what I've noticed is the programs have changed, I'll just use a general. When I started, we had a huge festival every year, Festival of the Arts. And we invited other school districts to come in. We had a whole back of the big field house filled with lessons from all different art teachers. We had a student show, a teacher show, an educator show. And then, of course, we always did the living arts. Are you familiar with the there's another name for it, but I call it the living arts, and there's a competition that we all have first weekend of June every year between all the different schools where you take a master word.
Is it called Art is Life?
Art, yes, I think that's what they call it. Thank you. So, Art is Life.
Oh, right.
But it used to be the first weekend. I don't know if they'll have it now that they're under construction, of course. They may have. Art is Alive. Well, either way, anyways, it doesn't matter. What matters is that, so that sort of all changed. I'm not saying, but I think it's when STEM became really strong. And we had Project Leap Away was another educating technology and engineering. And I noticed it even took over my art group. All the computers came in, and what I think happens is that the art department itself doesn't stay that strong. Sort of keep, chiseling back a little bit. We had classes that were more about architecture, which could have blended very well with the engineering, but we sort of, look at a little bit to the other side of the arts. So, yeah, and I think the artists, the musicians, people that are in theater have to really push really hard to promote their own program. I think that's part of what I noticed. That if you give anything up, it's hard to get it back. And to have a strong focus, what is really, really important so that you can all follow that way. So there has been definite changes. But our program was always pretty strong, so I'll put that. But we did, we were moved around a little bit for creative writing, which, I think that's another blend that we could do, art with creative writing. So I think it's really to have that focus and to have that teachers really stand up for themselves, not themselves, but for the program. So I don't know how, but it has changed. And I do think that technology really has changed almost everything.
Are you hopeful for your future for visual arts in other schools?
I'm hopeful. If what's mandated is important, also, I think art is, I'm not sure. I don't really know for a fact, but you hear that art's only mandated for a certain, like, 3 through 8, I think. But is that true?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Grandson who was a history teacher. We just mentioned it the other day that there's a mandate for third graders, and he's going to be teaching instrumental to third graders.
That's wonderful.
So that will reach out.
Oh, it's wonderful to hear. Because
But
it
you
could
did
change
mention
your life.
that art is, you have to have art in secondary school to, in order to graduate.
Okay, that's good. I think that's true too.
And I would imagine that music counts. I don't think it's strictly your thing.
I know, what you mean, there's the visual arts
There's the
versus,
visual arts.
Right.
and most of it, yeah.
yeah, and where I work, we had a really strong, severely strong music department.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks so bad.
Oh my gosh.
It's so
Yeah,
bad.
they had so many. So, so that's a good question that I don't really have a clear answer for. But I do notice that things do shift around.
In my observation, it seems like music seems to be very strong in our schools. Visual takes the backseat to music, and music is great, but
I agree with
it seems
you.
like visuals getting small.
I agree.
Fewer kids are doing it. Music, I think that they did get participation with everybody.
Mhm.
Visual arts, I guess. Hard to do.
Exactly, that's where it comes in, like, if you have a music program and a lot of students, you have many concerts and you march in the parade. So that's where it would take, forethought and teachers and to all pull together to have something that would counterbalance or blend. So we would blend, we have musicians at our shows. Theater kids also.
Yeah, I've just found that a lot of that ends up being, you have a good administrator who will vacuum, who can use the walls in the school, who can set up art shows. For the most part, they're very supportive of it because they want this, they want to promote the schools and the district. And so, and a lot of it, I think, falls on more and more on the individuals who are teaching in the classroom, how much effort, how much time they have to do a display, to make all the
Oh,
labels,
absolutely.
to step forward and blend with other disciplines and, especially music and more programs. It's a lot of work.
It is, and it's a lot of time because it doesn't, it comes out of your time more because the
Well, it's
days are
a lot
packed.
of, it's hours,
Exactly,
hours and hours every week.
of your personal time,
If you
right?
can work that. Yeah.
Mhm. So it's, I don't have an answer or even, but those are the thoughts and that's true.
Remember years ago, we were all, it seemed like it was involved, a lot of the districts were involved with Central Tournament. There was a fabulous art show there a
Yes.
couple years ago.
Yes,
And it involved almost all of Western New York. It seemed like that was phenomenal.
we can take from this that our programs are strong. It's just maybe a way of getting it out to the public a little bit more. No, I'm hoping, but it definitely has changed. But it probably, because everything's changing. And we have to move along with the times and we have to do computer lessons also. So that's a lot of, so much digital art and all different ways to learn everything. Yes, Stacey?
Can you talk a little bit about how you put the A in STEM and how art incorporates with a technology and math geared curriculum or a class where they're teaching technology? How do you inject art into that? How do they fit together?
Yes, well, only because I researched. Because this is sort of new for me. I feel very passionate about it, but that how-to is key. So I actually have plans to talk to the person that's teaching in Williamsville to see what she is doing. But from what I found out, it's just a way of tweaking how you approach the project up here. Of course, I had my soapbox out one day about Stephen Stammen, and it was at a meeting, and I had a lot of people say to me, "Well, look, I made this really pretty," and that's what you think, right? That it's how it's going to look in the end. That's where the art part would come in, but I think it's almost before. It's trying to take, and I always think that science and art are very closely related as far as how we think about it, and like light and color and art, they're all connected. But what I was reading is they're trying to change the scientific approach to a project and add in the problem. What is it? I'll read it. Adding the arts, students make connections between concepts and solving problems. So it's just a different way of connecting all those abstract thoughts. from the way I understand it. And this article that I was reading was really, strong on not just adding the arts, but making sure that you have theater, music, however that would connect. Now, we have a really great technology teacher in our intermediate school. And I went with a class once and they were making little cars that would go down a ramp, wouldn't have an egg in it. And so that when it hit the wall, the little car tried to keep the egg from breaking. That was a STEM project. And I was thinking, how could you make that a STEAM project? Excuse me. But I think it's the beginning because all the cars are made of Legos or something. So it's the creative. And I hesitate to use the word creativity anymore because the more you use it, the less it means in a way. But those problem solving skills beforehand are really connected, they say, to the arts. But it is connected to science. So that's all I know right now. But hopefully in the future, I'll know more, more about what it really means. Okay. Oh, inquiry and problem-based learning methods used in the creative process. So it's really about the creative process.
I was just thinking that pulls in, kids who are more spatial learners or hands-on, because then those concepts go from the abstract to being something that they can actually have a tactile grip on, and it may help them process.
It covers almost all the learners if you think about it.
Yeah.
If you see it, you really do it. So, but it seems like from what I found that STEAM is not as lost as I thought. That there's more out there. Yes, Robin.
I want to join in again. We did a project in my room that was related to science and math. And there's, we were allowed finally, going on 15 years ago, because I left Lancaster and I ended up in Buffalo, but originally we were told no teachable moments. Then about 10 years ago, I started shifting again, creative thinking, problem solving. So I don't know if you ever saw that marshmallow project that's on, okay. It was basically kids getting exactly the same amount of materials, like sisal rope, masking tape, certain pieces of construction paper, different kinds of clay board. They all got exactly the same thing. They had to, as a group project, they had to build structures as high as they could. And then at the very end, the very top, they had to balance a marshmallow at the very top so it wouldn't fall down. And so it was something I coordinated with the math teacher and the science teacher. And so there was a lot of measuring and, regarding volume and mass and all that. And I had one of the 46-year science teacher, Sue Wade from Buffalo. She was doing a lot of lab work, and that's part of the STEAM theory too, is getting the kids more involved with doing lab work, not just solving things on paper. So getting them involved with measuring things and what's going to happen if you add these two chemicals together. And it's, the kids love it.
That's what I kept seeing when I was looking up STEAM is the in quotes, what if I did this? What if I did that?
Yeah.
What would happen? It's the same idea, right? That they consider that the art part of things. And I see how it goes along with the science part of things. I love that idea of just giving them all the same objects and see what
It
happens.
was a little scary because they'd be on top of tables. They'd be like 8 feet up in the air, but they had a walk. And I wish I had been able to do more of that at the time.
Really engaged.
Is art education moved outside of the classroom? We introduce kids into art, creation of art, and drawing art in the classroom. Music, they do the same thing, but then they come out and have concerts 2 or 3 times a year. Athletics. They go out, the kids get to go and do that. They take creations that the kids do and ultimately place them around the school so that all of the students can walk up to the school.
Oh, displays in school, all right, next displays schoolwork.
Yeah.
So it's all an
Things.
experience for the
yeah.
school.
Oh, absolutely.
Here,
And-
the art department here, this floor is really strong.
Oh, I know.
And when you walk into the middle school, the walls are always the display case for.
I'm going back to school.
Yeah, there's artwork everywhere.
In the Elmwood Academy Festival, they have a huge children's tent. We have a parade at the end of the festival, and it's interactive, it's diverse. They do sculpture, they build, they make flags, all kinds of things.
Do they have the, like they have the science fair, where the parents come and everything else, and do that with art too?
Yeah, that's what our art festival is all about, like
I've
bringing
never seen their
We
work.
do here.
oh, yeah, and Arts Alive, or whatever. And, yeah, and then you can make your own connections. We would put our work in the libraries. And one of our teachers had a display at Tops, which I thought was really cool because there's so much traffic, and if it's a local, Tops, all kinds of families. So yes, there is, but for some reason it feels quieter, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like, to me, but it is there.
February teaches in high school. He has that video class that he teaches, and they do it at the movie theater here. in
Right.
New York.
Which
So
is
then
fantastic.
the public can attend as well as the family. So
One of the things I want to mention too, Janet has always been an artist as well as a teacher. There are many art teachers who go to school to teach art. Maybe they've never painted before or really done any art. They're there to focus on the curriculum and the written and the reading, the writing. and the art. She's been a full-time artist from day one.
Yeah,
I think those are the strongest art teachers.
I think it's easier in a way. I think it's almost easier to teach if you have had some practice. I would think it'd be really tough to go right from.
The kids need to see what you've done too. That's how, it's so inspirational.
And maybe it's some connections, but. So we try to expose them to as many mediums and ideas as possible, so you never know where it's going to click with some of the kids. Anybody else? Yes?
I'm just curious, the big piece you have in the back, you said is silk?
It's a giant piece of silk right there. I stretched it, and batiking is you paint with wax. So all the white lines are wax, that was the original color of the silk. And then you use dyes to change the color and dye it. And then for me to get the wax off, once it was all set and done, you heat the dye with an iron. And as you're doing that, you mix the newspapers on top and bottom, and the wax melts into the newspapers. So you're setting the dye and removing the wax.
And then you stretch it at the very end.
That's why I put it on this. I had a pain with it, just, it's beautiful. The silk is beautiful as it moves around. But it worked. I didn't know if the matte medium would work, so if anybody wants to try it, silk worked. It didn't damage the silk like I thought.
Wanted to mention too that Buffalo Art Studio, there's classes for children and they also display kids' work. And Art Studio. Actually, again,
Okay.
there's other places too there's places on Elmwood, there's places on downtown. I'm trying to remember the names right now.
That's okay, but that's, another thing we could do is make a list, because people often ask, where can I send my child to classes? The classes that are here, right at the Guild. Those too.
And there's a museum that we-
Right.
Yeah.
The news jar right here.
Yeah, I was going to say Vanessa has a lot of classes for kids now. So, but people often ask because, again, it just seems sort of quieter than other lessons.
I think people feel, I can speak from this person,
Mhm.
that we have to have talent to do this, rather than learning to do it and discovering that you have. Yeah.
I agree,
Separate
100%.
schools are in Catholic schools always, and they didn't have in our curriculum. The years that I've been to school. the high school did. But if you were in college prep, you had people take. So I never had any exposure. And so then consequently, I think, well, I don't think our talent. You know? And I still not sure that my weaving is our talent. It's, to me, it's making, you know, I'm a maker. And, you know, I have discovered color, you know, that I can't actually, you know, I have a sense of color, but it was, I still don't feel creative, you know, that's,
I think that's common.
that's the big word.
I think it's a common feeling. And all those labels that are on everything, whether you're a maker or craftsman, fine artist, it's really, to me, they're all the same, but they do have different personal meanings, I think. But I agree with you. And so thinking in that direction, then art education, education of the arts has come a long way from not even being offered sometimes in certain schools to really, I think it's offered in, I would say, most schools now. So it really has grown. But as artists, I think we just have to
But
get
I
out
was thinking when you asked the question, I think self-advocacy for educators in art, that's in many departments.
Yes.
Self-advocacy is a very important part of it. People who speak out are the ones who get recognition from the inspiration, and then consequently they can find some money to support them. You know, it is such,
Yes.
it is such a budgetary situation.
Yes.
You know, that I think that's one of the reasons why art gets slighted. You know, because the other, you know, science, math, social studies, English, they have to be taught. They don't have any choice. They have a bunch of author. They have for 4 years.
Right.
You know, and art. Yeah.
That's true, and I have heard of people that have a shoestring budget, and they still come up with some of the most amazing things. Oh, I've always had an amazing budget. I mean, they did put a lot of money into our program, so knock on wood. That's why it's hard to figure out where this all falls, you know, does it fall with administrator or just the way the world is, who knows, but I actually feel better. I feel like that art education is important, and that seems like it's doing much better than anything else.
I never knew anything about art until 2011, after college, graduate school, professional school, 41 years as a professional, and we retired, and we went to Scotland and Edinburgh for a month. And I just happened to bring a blank book. We were sitting in the garden, and she's knitting.
I probably was.
And I just took her, and the castle was sitting.
Oh my
And I just took it somewhere. Started just doing it. Mary Ann says, you know what? I know what that is. If I did it, nobody would know. So when that started, I had no idea it was there. None.
So are you a painter?
Yeah.
Claudia? Oh, wow. So what style? Are
Or
you real oil?
landscape, waterscape.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is there.
Yeah, it was just an adventure for me. Get away from all this professional stuff and let's do something different. And it was fun, but I don't know why it was that instead of basketball or something.
Oh, we'll tell you why. It wasn't basketball. Basketball. Okay.
No, it just happened. I'm sitting there. So she said.
That's fantastic. That's a happy story.
Art has never been given a lot of credit. You go back to Renaissance times, and all the people who had money wanted to be associated with this artist or that artist, they did these huge creative projects. But exactly what you said, we're not raised to allow ourselves to just be creative beings. And that's part of our downfall, I think, in this country, is we're not allowed to just be creative. And that's part of the whole STEAM idea is art is part of everything we do. Any new idea is an art flag. People say that they don't feel like they're creative. I guarantee those 40 years, you were talking whether it's mowing your lawn a certain way or planting a garden a certain way, arranging your house. Art for living is a basis for anybody who feels like they're not creative. It's just wrong. We're born as creative beings. The problem is, a lot of us, I used to be full-time artist. I had no insurance for 10 years. There's no way I could have made it with the way I wanted to do my art. So I went into teaching, and then I was able to pull forth a lot with that. But it's not an easy way to make a living, and it's another reason it's not given a lot of credit. Or people that want to encourage their kids, like even when I was a teacher. If you want to be an artist, that's great. You have another, something to back you up.
Have a back-
Unless you're willing to really, let them know what they're going to have to go through to be successful.
And then sometimes I think it's the role of the artists too, that they're successful. If they're able to support themselves with their art, it's not necessarily.
That is so rare. It's very rare for somebody to be, wow, they were successful and make that 50 grand a year to survive.
It's a role of dice, that somebody comes along and appreciates your work, becomes a patron or you're able to sell things.
But you still can't count on them.
You can't.
So it could be, it's like, whoa, this has been a great month, and that's like, oh no, what am I gonna do for the next 2 or 3 months?
Yeah.
So,
But I do think there's an element in what you're talking about us supporting each other, and showing each other's work. And now that there's social media, which I haven't done on too much lately, but like all of your work, I can't even imagine how you do that, Stacy. But it's nice to put it out for other people to see, and out and out and out. Hopefully they tell two friends, and remember the commercial, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to have a supportive environment.
it's a good time to mention we have an art show on campus on the 2nd, 3rd of October.
So is it an art, like art?
It's a arts festival
Festival?
right here on campus, on the right.
Okay, good.
It's gonna incorporate antiques, antique dealers also, and, other things like maple and.
Oh, cool, like a whole fall festival?
Yes, it is a fall festival.
Okay.
Yes. They'll have, alpacas.
Boy Scouts selling hot dogs.
Yeah, probably again, yeah.
Big community event.
So thank you, everyone, for being so polite.
Thank you, Jean.
You're welcome. I hope I was able to offer something.
Work is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's your favorite.
Accordion.
Thanks for coming.
There's nothing else.
Wow.